Tonight, you travel quietly backward in time. There are no engines humming in the distance, no electric lights glowing beyond your window, no distant traffic, no soft buzz of modern life. Instead, there is darkness. Not the thin darkness of a city night, but a deep and complete one, soft, wide, and endless. Above you, the sky stretches in 1,000 quiet stars. The air is cool, slightly damp. It carries the faint scent of earth and wood smoke. You are not in your own bed. You are lying on a simple mattress stuffed with straw, covered in rough linen, inside a small timber-framed house in medieval England, sometime in the early 1300s. The house is quiet, but not silent. You can hear the slow breathing of others nearby, because you do not sleep alone. In a medieval peasant home, privacy is a luxury no one expects. The house has only one main room, a single open space where cooking, eating, working, and sleeping all happen together. In one corner, a faint glow from dying embers in the hearth casts a soft orange pulse against the wooden walls. Beside you, a child shifts slightly in sleep. Across the room, someone coughs softly. Above, in the thatched roof, something small rustles, perhaps a mouse, settling deeper into straw. This is normal. This is home. The air carries the scent of smoke that never quite leaves the room. There is no chimney as you know it, only a small opening in the roof where smoke slowly escapes. The walls are made of wattle and daub, woven wood coated in hardened mud. They hold the warmth poorly. The night air slips in gently through unseen gaps, and still you sleep, until, gradually, you begin to wake, not because of an alarm clock, not because of urgency, but because medieval life follows the sun. Your eyes open slowly in darkness that has softened just slightly, a barely noticeable shift from deep black to charcoal gray. Dawn is approaching. You lie still for a moment. The straw mattress rustles quietly as you adjust your weight. It is not especially comfortable, but you are used to it. Comfort, in your world, is measured differently. It is not softness that matters most, but warmth, shelter, and routine. Outside, a rooster calls. The sound cuts gently through the morning air, not harsh, just steady, a reminder that the day has begun. You breathe in deeply. The morning air is colder now. The embers in the hearth have nearly faded. The warmth of the previous evening has long since thinned. You pull the rough wool blanket closer around your shoulders and sit up slowly. Your body feels stiff. You worked yesterday. You will work again today. This rhythm does not change, but there is no sense of dread. This is simply life, predictable, structured by seasons and sunlight. Across the room, others begin to stir. A mother rising quietly, a father stretching tired limbs, a small child murmuring before settling again. The house wakes gradually, like the sky. You swing your feet onto the packed earth floor. It is cool beneath your soles. There are no floorboards here, only hardened ground, swept regularly, scattered with reeds to absorb moisture. You stand. The room is still dim, but shapes begin to take form. The wooden table near the hearth, a few simple stools, a storage chest, clay pots resting near the wall. Everything has a purpose. Nothing exists without reason. You kneel near the hearth and gently stir the ashes with a small stick. A faint red glow flickers beneath gray dust. Carefully, you add a few pieces of dry kindling kept aside for morning. You blow gently. A small flame awakens. There is something deeply steady about this moment, coaxing fire from ash. The same motion performed yesterday, and the day before, and countless mornings before that. Outside, the sky lightens further. A pale blue now brushes the horizon beyond the small shuttered window. Mist rests low over the nearby fields. The village beyond your house is quiet but slowly waking, thin trails of smoke rising from other homes as neighbors also greet the day. There are perhaps 20 houses in your village, maybe 30, each similar in size, each holding families who live as you do, close to the land, tied to the seasons, bound by shared work. You step outside briefly. The door creaks softly as you open it. The morning greets you with cool, damp air and the scent of soil. The fields stretch outward, divided into long strips cultivated by different families. Beyond them, open meadow, and further still, woodland. The world feels wide, yet small. You know nearly everyone within walking distance. Your entire life exists within a few miles. The market town may be half a day's walk away. The Lord's manor lies not far beyond the hill. The sky continues to brighten. Birdsong begins cautiously, a few chirps from hedgerows, then more joining in gentle chorus. Somewhere nearby, a cow shifts in its enclosure. A wooden gate creaks. This is how most days begin. Not in noise, not in haste, but in steady, quiet motion. You return inside as the fire grows stronger. The room warms slowly. Others are fully awake now, speaking in low tones. There is no rush yet, but there is purpose. The day ahead will bring work in the fields, perhaps repairing a fence, perhaps tending barley. It depends on the season. In medieval life, time is not measured by minutes, but by tasks and weather. For now, the morning unfolds softly. You sit near the hearth, warming your hands. The flicker of firelight dances gently across wooden beams darkened by years of smoke. Outside, the mist begins to lift from the land. And though life here is simple and often difficult, there is a certain calm in its rhythm. A life guided by sunrise and sunset, by church bells and changing skies. You breathe slowly. The medieval day has begun, and this is only the beginning. The fire has taken hold now. Small flames curl around the kindling, licking upward, warming the room with a steady orange glow. The chill that clung to the early dawn begins to soften. Shadows retreat from the corners of the house. You move slowly, unhurried. There is no clock watching you, no schedule written down, and yet everyone knows what must be done. Morning begins with the fire. Without it, nothing else moves forward. A small iron pot hangs over the hearth, blackened from years of use. You lift it down and brush away yesterday's ashes from its base. Inside, there is nothing yet, but soon there will be. Breakfast in your world is simple. There are no sweet pastries, no eggs arranged carefully on porcelain plates, no fresh fruit brought from distant lands. Instead, there is pottage. Pottage is the quiet foundation of medieval life, a thick, slow-cooked mixture of grains and whatever vegetables are available. Sometimes onions, sometimes leeks, occasionally cabbage. If fortune has been kind, perhaps a bit of dried peas or barley. You reach for a small sack stored in a wooden chest. Inside, coarse grains ground roughly into meal. You measure by eye, not by spoon. Years of practice guide your hand. Water is added first, drawn the day before from the village well. It is cool and slightly metallic in taste, but clean enough. You pour it into the pot, then sprinkle in the grain. The mixture begins thin. It will thicken slowly as it cooks. You hang the pot back over the fire and stir gently with a wooden spoon worn smooth from countless mornings. Across the room, others begin their tasks. A child rubs sleep from their eyes and helps gather small sticks brought inside last evening. Another folds blankets and sets them neatly aside against the wall. Space must be cleared. This single room will soon shift from sleeping place to living space. There is a quiet understanding in these movements. Everyone contributes. Even the youngest learns early that survival depends on shared effort. You slice a small onion, its sharp scent briefly cutting through the smoky air. It joins the pot. Soon the faint smell of cooking grain and vegetables begins to rise. Earthy, warm, comforting in its simplicity. There is no abundance here, but there is enough. In many medieval households, bread is also part of the morning meal. Not soft white bread, that is reserved for wealthier tables, but dark, dense bread made from rye or barley. Its texture is heavy, its crust thick and firm. You take a loaf from a cloth wrapping near the wall and slice it carefully. The knife is simple but sharp enough. Each piece is modest. Nothing is wasted. Sometimes, if barley ale is available, a small cup may be shared, even in the morning. Water alone is not always trusted, and ale, lightly fermented, is safer to drink. It is weak by modern standards, mild, almost nourishing more than intoxicating. The pottage thickens slowly. You stir again, listening to the soft bubbling sound as steam rises gently into the cool morning air. Outside, the village is now awake. Through the open doorway, you hear faint sounds. A cow lowing, distant voices greeting one another. The scrape of a wooden cart wheel over dirt. The world beyond your home is moving into its daily rhythm. You sit briefly on a low stool while the food finishes cooking. The warmth of the fire touches your face. Your hands rest in your lap for a moment. This is perhaps the calmest part of the day. Before the labor begins, before the sun climbs high, before sweat and soil and effort take over. You look around the room. The walls are simple, no decoration, no paintings, only tools hanging neatly from pegs. A wooden rake, a small sickle, bundles of dried herbs tied with twine. Everything here has meaning. Everything serves survival. The pottage is ready. You lower the pot and ladle portions into small wooden bowls. Each person receives a share. No one speaks loudly. The morning meal is practical, not ceremonial. You eat slowly. The taste is plain. Warm grain, soft onion, a hint of smoke from the fire. It fills the stomach, not the imagination. But there is comfort in warmth. A child dips bread into the bowl. Another blows gently across the surface to cool it. Steam curls upward in thin wisps. There is no hurry. The fields will wait a little longer. As you eat, plans for the day are spoken quietly. It is planting season. The soil must be turned further in the north strip. A fence post needs repair where livestock pressed too hard yesterday. If weather holds, work may last until late afternoon. You swallow the last spoonful and wipe the bowl clean with a piece of bread. Nothing is wasted. When the meal is finished, the bowls are rinsed with a small amount of water and set aside. The remaining pottage, if any, may be saved and added to later meals. In truth, pottage often becomes a continuous stew. Ingredients added day by day, never fully emptied. The fire is adjusted carefully, enough to keep embers alive for later. Wood is precious. It must be gathered regularly from nearby woodland, and not always freely. Some forests belong to the Lord. Permissions matter. You step outside once more. The sun has now cleared the horizon fully. Golden light spreads gently across the fields, catching the tops of barley stalks in a soft glow. The morning mist has almost vanished. The sky is pale blue, streaked lightly with clouds. You breathe deeply. The air smells of damp soil warming under sunlight. Around you, other villagers emerge from their homes, tools in hand. A nod is exchanged, perhaps a quiet greeting. There is no grand announcement that work has begun. It simply begins. You adjust your simple tunic, rough wool, practical, slightly worn. Your shoes are leather, sturdy but not new. They have been repaired before. They will be repaired again. Before heading toward the fields, you pause briefly and glance back at your home. Small, crooked, humble, but yours. Medieval peasant life is not romantic. It is not easy. It is bound by obligation to landowners and shaped by unpredictable weather. Yet within its boundaries there is structure, familiarity, a steady pulse. The sun rises higher. The day waits. You join the others walking along narrow dirt paths between strips of cultivated land. Tools rest across shoulders. Conversation is light, practical words about soil, seed, rain. The morning meal has done its work. Strength gathers quietly within you. Ahead lies labor, but for now, there's calm in motion. The medieval day unfolds not in sudden bursts, but in slow, steady layers, and you walk forward into it. You step into the fields as the morning settles fully into light. The village behind you grows quieter, its sounds fading into distance, replaced now by the open stillness of farmland. Long strips of earth stretch before you, divided not by fences but by memory and agreement. Each family knows which narrow section they tend. The land is shared in structure, but divided in labor. The soil beneath your feet is dark and slightly damp from night air. It carries the scent of earth and growth, steady, grounding, familiar. This is where most of your life unfolds, not in the village center, but here, under open sky. In medieval England, farming follows a rhythm shaped entirely by season. There is no rushing it, no forcing it. The land decides what happens next. Today, it is planting season. You take hold of a simple wooden plow reinforced with iron at its tip. It is not elegant, but it is strong enough. If your family is fortunate, you share an ox with neighbors, a patient, heavy animal whose slow strength turns the soil far better than human hands alone. The ox breathes steadily in the cool air. You guide it forward. The plow presses into earth with a low, muffled sound. Soil folds gently aside in long, uneven lines. The motion is repetitive. Step forward, press down, guide, lift slightly, repeat. There is no dramatic urgency, only repetition. The sun climbs gradually, warming your shoulders through the coarse fabric of your tunic. A light breeze moves across the fields, carrying the distant sound of others working in nearby strips. You are not alone here. Scattered across the land, other villagers bend, lift, turn, and guide. Some plant seeds by hand, walking slowly and dropping grains into freshly opened furrows. Others repair tools. A few children carry small bundles or chase birds gently away from planted seed. Work in the medieval village is rarely solitary. It is communal by nature. On certain days, especially during planting and harvest, families assist one another. Time matters deeply in agriculture. Seeds must enter soil at the right moment. Crops must be gathered before weather turns. The sky becomes your clock. Cloud movement becomes your forecast. You pause briefly to wipe your brow. The work is physical, yes. Your hands grow rough from wooden handles. Your back stiffens from bending. But your body has known this rhythm since childhood. Labor is not an interruption to life. It is life. There is something steady about it. You look down the row you have just turned. Dark lines stretch neatly behind you. It is not perfect. The earth resists in places where stones hide beneath the surface. But it is enough. Enough is the quiet goal of peasant life. Not abundance, not excess, but enough to carry you through winter. As the morning deepens, sunlight brightens to gold. Shadows shorten. The dampness in the soil begins to dry slightly under warmth. In planting season, barley and wheat are common crops. Rye, oats, and peas may also fill sections of land. Crop rotation helps preserve soil health, though the science behind it is not spoken in modern terms. It is simply tradition, knowledge passed down through observation. One year, one strip lies fallow, resting. Another produces grain. Another grows legumes. The land must breathe, just as you do. At mid-morning, you straighten slowly and rest your hands on your hips. Nearby, a neighbor shares a brief nod. Words are few, saved for when necessary. Breath is used carefully during labor. In the distance, the small bell of the village church rings once. Not a summons, just a marking of time. The sound drifts across fields gently, softened by open air. You continue. Step, press, guide. Above, birds circle lazily. Occasionally, one descends too close to freshly planted seed, and a child runs lightly across soil to chase it away, laughing softly before returning to task. There are moments of quiet conversation. Talk of weather, talk of last year's harvest, talk of a coming village feast day. Life here moves in cycles. Planting leads to tending. Tending leads to harvest. Harvest leads to storage. Storage leads to winter survival. The seasons are not abstract ideas. They are rulers of fate. Clouds drift slowly overhead now, thin and pale. You glance at them often. Rain at the wrong time can wash seeds away. Too little rain can leave soil hard and cracked. You have no irrigation system, no backup supply, only sky. By late morning, the steady repetition becomes almost meditative. The sound of metal pressing into soil, the soft exhale of the ox, the whisper of wind across grain in nearby strips already growing. You feel small beneath the wide sky, but not insignificant. Your labor matters deeply. Each furrow carved today may become bread months from now. Each seed dropped carefully may become survival in the coldest weeks of winter. Around you, others pause for brief rest. A sip of water from a shared flask, a small piece of bread saved from breakfast. There is no long break, but there are pauses. You sit briefly on an overturned basket, looking out across the gentle rise of land. The village cottages appear small in the distance, their thatched roofs blending into the landscape. Beyond them, perhaps on a higher hill, stands the manor house of the local lord. The land you work is not fully your own. You owe labor, certain days each week, to the lord's domain fields. It is part of the feudal order, protection and land usage in exchange for service. This is not questioned. It is simply understood. Yet within your own strips of land, you feel ownership of effort, pride in straight rows, satisfaction in visible progress. The sun now stands higher, warming fully. Sweat forms lightly at your temples. Your tunic grows heavier with effort. But there is a steady rhythm in your breathing that keeps you grounded. The medieval peasant day is not frantic. It is enduring. There is no rush to finish quickly, only steady movement until the task reaches its natural stopping point. By midday, much of the planned planting is complete. Rows stretch behind you in neat lines. Seeds rest hidden beneath soil, invisible but full of possibility. You lean once more on the wooden handle of your tool and look out over the field. The land appears calm, almost unchanged, and yet beneath its surface, tomorrow has already begun. You guide the ox slowly back toward the edge of the strip. Tools are gathered. Voices grow slightly more animated as morning labor ends. Soon, there will be a brief meal. a small rest, then perhaps more work, repairing hedges, tending animals, or assisting neighbors. But for now, the field rests quietly under sun, and so do you. By midday, the fields grow quieter. Tools are lifted from soil. Oxen are guided slowly back towards simple wooden enclosures. The wide openness of farmland gives way to the closer, warmer space of the village once more. You walk along a narrow dirt path, its surface uneven from years of footsteps and cartwheels. Grass grows softly along its edges. Small stones press under your worn leather shoes. As you approach the village, sound changes. The open hush of the fields is replaced by nearer life. The cluck of hens, the shuffle of hooves, the low murmur of voices drifting between cottages. Your home is one of many similar dwellings clustered loosely together. Timber frames, thatched roofs, mud-plastered walls, each slightly crooked, each shaped by the hands of those who built and repaired them over time. No house stands in perfect lines. They lean gently with age, as if resting into the earth. Chickens roam freely between homes, pecking at the ground in search of insects and scattered grain. They are small, alert, quick in their movements. Eggs are valuable, not abundant but precious when gathered. A child crouches nearby, watching carefully as a hen disappears beneath a wooden crate used as a nesting space. There is quiet anticipation there, the hope of finding something warm and new. Beyond the houses, a few pigs move slowly in a shared enclosure. They root through straw and scraps, snuffling with determination. Pigs are practical animals. They eat almost anything. They grow steadily. In autumn, they may provide meat that sustains families through winter. A cow shifts lazily near a fence made of rough-cut branches. Its breath rises visibly in the air if the season is cool. Milk is not always plentiful, but when available, it offers nourishment beyond grain. Animals are not distant from daily life. They are woven into it. You pause briefly near the well at the center of the village, a simple stone-lined shaft with a wooden beam overhead. A bucket hangs from rope. Two neighbors stand nearby, drawing water in slow, practiced motions. There is no rush here either. Water is lifted carefully, poured into wooden pails, carried home with steady arms. You exchange a greeting, quiet, familiar. In a medieval village, privacy is rare. Lives overlap naturally. News travels not through written pages, but through conversation near wells, ovens, and paths. Someone mentions that the blacksmith in the nearby market town has repaired a plow blade. Another speaks of a coming feast day tied to the church calendar. Your home is one of many similar dwellings clustered loosely together. Timber frames, thatched roofs, mud-plastered walls, each slightly crooked, each shaped by the hands of those who built and repaired them over time. No house stands in perfect lines. They lean gently with age, as if resting into the earth. Chickens roam freely between homes, pecking at the ground in search of insects and scattered grain. They are small, alert, quick in their movements. Eggs are valuable, not abundant but precious when gathered. A child crouches nearby, watching carefully as a hen disappears beneath a wooden crate used as a nesting space. There is quiet anticipation there, the hope of finding something warm and new. Beyond the houses, a few pigs move slowly in a shared enclosure. They root through straw and scraps, snuffling with determination. Pigs are practical animals. They eat almost anything. They grow steadily. In autumn, they may provide meat that sustains families through winter. A cow shifts lazily near a fence made of rough-cut branches. Its breath rises visibly in the air if the season is cool. Milk is not always plentiful, but when available, it offers nourishment beyond grain. Animals are not distant from daily life. They are woven into it. You pause briefly near the well at the center of the village, a simple stone-lined shaft with a wooden beam overhead. A bucket hangs from rope. Two neighbors stand nearby, drawing water in slow, practiced motions. There is no rush here either. Water is lifted carefully, poured into wooden pails, carried home with steady arms. You exchange a greeting, quiet, familiar. In a medieval village, privacy is rare. Lives overlap naturally. News travels not through written pages, but through conversation near wells, ovens, and paths. Someone mentions that the blacksmith in the nearby market town has repaired a plow blade. Another speaks of a coming feast day tied to the church calendar. Small pieces of shared information move gently from person to person. There is comfort in this closeness. Though life is hard, it is not isolated. You continue walking. Near the edge of the village stands a communal bread oven, larger than any one household hearth. It is dome-shaped, built of clay and stone, blackened from years of fire. Families take turns using it, baking loaves prepared at home. The smell of fresh bread sometimes drifts from it in late afternoon, thick, earthy, warm. Today it is quiet, but traces of ash remain at its mouth. You pass by a cottage, where an older woman sits outside mending clothing with careful hands. Her fingers move slowly through rough wool fabric. Each stitch extends the life of garments worn daily in field and home. Clothing is not replaced easily. It is repaired, over and over again. Children run lightly between houses, their laughter brief but bright. Their clothing is simple, smaller versions of adult garments. Childhood here is not separate from work for long. By age 7 or 8, small tasks become expected contributions. A boy carries a bundle of sticks gathered from woodland. A girl holds a small basket of herbs, picked from near the hedgerow. Life moves in small responsibilities. You return to your own doorway and pause. The house appears just as it did this morning, modest, functional, smoke curling gently from the roof opening. Inside, someone has already begun preparing a simple midday meal, perhaps leftover pottage reheated, perhaps a piece of bread and cheese if any remains. You sit briefly on a low wooden stool outside before entering. The village feels neither busy nor idle. It exists in balance. Some villagers remain in fields finishing tasks. Others repair fences. A few tend small kitchen gardens planted near homes. Onions, cabbages, herbs growing in narrow patches of cultivated soil. You glance toward the church at the far end of the village. Its stone walls stand firmer than the timber homes. Its small tower rises modestly against the sky. It is not grand like cathedrals in distant cities, but it anchors the village visually and spiritually. The church bell marks time more reliably than any device. It signals worship, it signals gatherings, it may even signal danger. But today it is silent. The sky above remains clear, pale blue drifting slowly toward afternoon. You step inside your home once more. The air feels warmer now. The hearth still holds a gentle fire. A pot sits above it again, steam rising lightly. Midday meals are simple and small. There is work yet to finish later, and heavy eating would slow the body. You sit with others and eat quietly. There is a sense, in these moments, that life is woven from repetition. Morning fire, field labor, village tasks, simple meals. No day is dramatically different from the one before, unless weather or illness intervenes. Yet within sameness, subtle change exists. A child grows taller. A roof sags slightly. A new animal is born in spring. You step back outside after eating and look once more across the village. A dog lies stretched in sunlight, unmoving except for slow breathing. Smoke drifts lazily upward from several cottages. Somewhere nearby, someone hums softly while working. The medieval village is not silent, but its sounds are soft, natural, grounded. There are no sudden horns, no mechanical roars, only wind, animals, human voices carried gently across open air. You realize that most of your world exists within walking distance. The idea of traveling far beyond these fields is rare. Perhaps once in a lifetime you might journey to a larger town. Perhaps never. And yet, the world does not feel small. It feels complete. Within these few clustered houses lies everything required for survival. Labor, tools, faith, community. The afternoon will soon call you back to work. But for now, the village rests in sunlight, breathing, living, steady as it has for generations before you. In the medieval village, the church does not stand at the edge of life. It stands at its center, not only in stone and mortar, but in thought, in time, in the quiet structure of each passing year. From where you stand, you can see its small tower rising above thatched roofs. Its walls are built from rough stone, cooler in color than the timber homes around it. The wooden door is thick, iron-banded, worn smooth where hands have pushed it open for generations. You begin walking toward it slowly. The ground beneath your feet is familiar, a narrow path shaped by countless footsteps. Grass bends along its edges. A few gravestones rest in the small churchyard, simple and weathered. Names fade over time. Stone softens under rain and wind. Life and death sit close together here. You step inside. The air changes immediately, cooler, still, faintly scented with wax and old stone. Light filters through small windows, sometimes colored faintly by simple stained glass. It falls in pale beams across the packed earth floor. Wooden pews, rough but sturdy, stand in rows. At the front, the altar waits beneath a simple cross. The church is not grand like the cathedrals of distant cities, but to you it feels immense. It is the largest building you know. On Sundays, the village gathers here. Men, women, children, all seated closely. The priest speaks in Latin during formal prayers, words not fully understood by most, yet their meaning is felt rather than analyzed. The rhythm of repetition matters more than precise comprehension. Faith, in your world, is not optional. It is assumed. It explains storms and sickness. It comforts grief. It offers structure to uncertainty. The ringing of the church bell marks more than hours. It marks belonging. When the bell tolls in the morning, you hear it across the fields. When it calls for mass, work pauses. When it tolls slowly and heavily, it signals death. The sound carries across land like a thread stitching the community together. You sit quietly now on a wooden bench. Even on days without service, the church feels present. A place to kneel briefly. A place to whisper prayers for good harvest, for protection from illness, for strength through winter. The medieval mind does not separate the physical and spiritual worlds as distinctly as modern thought might. If crops fail, it may be God's will. If a child falls ill, it may be divine testing. If rain arrives after prayer, it feels like mercy. This belief brings both comfort and weight. The church calendar shapes your year. Feast days break the routine of labor. Saints' days offer moments of celebration. Christmas and Easter arrive not as commercial events, but as deeply sacred pauses in agricultural rhythm. During Lent, fasting may change daily meals slightly. During harvest festivals, gratitude fills the air alongside relief. Time is not counted in numbered months, as much as in seasons of faith. After Michaelmas, before Pentecost, during Advent, these phrases anchor memory. Candles flicker softly near the altar. You notice how quiet the space feels compared to the village outside. Even children seem subdued here. Voices lower instinctively. The priest plays a role larger than religious instruction. He may offer guidance in disputes. He may read aloud official announcements. He may be one of the few in the village who can read and write fluently. Books are rare objects. Sacred texts are precious. You rise slowly and walk toward the doorway again. Sunlight spills across the threshold, warmer than the cool interior. Outside, the small graveyard rests in gentle silence. Burial grounds sit close to daily life. Death is not hidden away in distant spaces. It is understood as part of existence. Illness can come quickly. Winters can be harsh. Child mortality is common. And so faith offers reassurance. Heaven is spoken of often. Eternal rest, reunion, peace beyond hardship. You walk along the edge of the churchyard and pause briefly. Children especially are fragile in this world. Not every winter is survived by every child, and yet life continues. Families grow again. Seasons turn again. There is resilience in repetition. You step outside and notice wind shifting slightly. The air feels heavier now. Distant thunder murmurs faintly across hills. A summer storm may bring needed rain or damaging hail. You secure loose items near the cottage wall. A wooden bucket turned upside down. A small stack of firewood covered with cloth. Preparation is constant in your life. Even when nothing is visibly wrong, you prepare. Tools are checked regularly for cracks in wood handles. A broken plow during planting season could cost valuable days. A weak fence could allow animals to wander into planted strips. Animals themselves are both support and vulnerability. A cow falling ill affects milk supply. A pig lost to disease reduces winter stores. Chickens taken by foxes mean fewer eggs. You keep watch carefully. Yet despite all this uncertainty, life does not feel chaotic. Because hardship is expected, it does not arrive as betrayal. It arrives as part of the pattern. In late autumn, after harvest is complete, there is often a brief period of visible relief. Grain stored safely, animals prepared, firewood stacked high. The air turns crisp and clear. Those days feel earned. The village gathers sometimes for small celebrations tied to harvest completion. Shared meals, laughter slightly louder than usual, stories told near firelight. But even in those moments, you understand the balance is delicate. One failed harvest can ripple through months ahead. The feudal system adds another layer to this uncertainty. A portion of what you grow belongs not to your household, but to the Lord. Taxes and dues must be paid, often in grain or labor. If yield is low, the burden feels heavier. Yet open rebellion is rare and dangerous. Stability depends on order, even imperfect order. After rain, the air feels washed and clear. The fields glisten faintly under the lowering sun. Shadows stretch longer across the land, thin and quiet. Work slows naturally. There is no bell announcing its end, no whistle signaling completion. The body simply understands when enough has been done for one day. You walk back toward the village once more, tools resting across your shoulder. The earth clings lightly to your shoes. Your hands carry the faint scent of soil and wood. The sky shifts from pale blue to warmer tones, amber, soft gold, hints of rose near the horizon. Evening in the medieval village is not loud. It is a gradual exhale. Smoke begins rising from cottage roofs again as hearth fires are coaxed back to life for the night meal. The smell of burning wood drifts gently through the air, blending with damp grass and distant animals settling into enclosures. Chickens flutter upward to their perches. A cow lowers itself slowly onto straw. The village quiets not because it must, but because it follows the sun. You step inside your cottage. The fire crackles steadily now, flames brighter than they were in the morning. Someone has already hung a pot over it. Perhaps more pottage, thickened from earlier. Perhaps a few added herbs for flavor. If fortune allowed, maybe a small piece of salted meat has been dropped in to season the broth. Evening meals are not extravagant, but they are warmer. There is comfort in sitting together after labor. You lower yourself onto a stool near the hearth and stretch your legs slightly. Muscles feel heavy now, pleasantly tired. Your hands rest open on your knees for a moment before you reach to adjust the firewood. The flames respond instantly, growing brighter. The room glows amber. This single room, which served as bedroom, kitchen, and workshop throughout the day, now becomes something else. A gathering place. Children sit close to the warmth. One leans against a parent's side. Another watches the fire intently, mesmerized by the way flames shift and fold into themselves. Outside, the sky deepens toward indigo. There are no street lamps to extend daylight. When the sun disappears, darkness comes fully, and so evening feels precious. A final pocket of visibility before night settles. Bowls are filled again. Steam rises gently, curling into the smoky air. Wooden spoons dip slowly into thick broth. Bread is torn carefully and shared. The taste is familiar, but after a full day's labor it feels earned. Conversation during evening meals is softer than midday. Words move slowly, shaped by fatigue and contentment. Someone mentions how straight the rows look today in the north field. Someone else notes that rain arrived just in time. There is quiet gratitude in those observations. A child asks a question about tomorrow's tasks. You answer simply. Tomorrow will bring more tending, perhaps repairing a section of fence loosened by wind, perhaps checking grain storage. Life unfolds one task at a time. When bowls empty, they're cleaned gently and stacked aside. Water is used sparingly. Every resource matters. The fire becomes the center of attention. Light flickers against timber beams darkened by years of smoke. Shadows dance softly across walls. The roof above, thick with thatch, insulates against cooling air outside. Stories sometimes fill this hour, not grand epics, though occasionally tales of saints or distant kings drift through memory, but small village stories. Of a fox spotted near the hedgerow, of a strange cloud formation seen at sunset, of someone's grandfather who once traveled as far as the market town beyond the hills. Stories serve a purpose. They bind generations together. They pass time gently. You lean back slightly and listen. The warmth of the fire spreads into your shoulders. The steady crackle creates a rhythm that matches your breathing. Outside, the final light drains from the sky. In a world without rapid change, without constant noise, life unfolds slowly, shaped by land, by labor, by belief, and by shared presence. The fire's final embers pulse faintly across the room. Breathing grows steady. The medieval village rests beneath open sky, and so do you. Night settles fully now, not gradually, not dimly, but completely. Without lanterns lining roads or windows glowing from distant houses, darkness in the medieval world is deep and enveloping. It presses softly against walls, against fields, against the quiet shape of the village itself. Inside your cottage, the fire has dimmed to a bed of faint orange embers. Their glow pulses gently, like a slow heartbeat in the corner of the room. Everyone sleeps. Breathing rises and falls in calm rhythm. Outside, the sky stretches wide and brilliantly clear. Without artificial light, the stars appear countless, scattered across blackness in silent constellations. The moon, if present, casts a pale silver glow across rooftops and fields. The village is no longer a place of movement. It is a shape resting within landscape. You lie still, wrapped in coarse wool and linen. The straw beneath you shifts slightly each time you adjust, but your body is too tired to notice discomfort for long. The work of the day has emptied your muscles in the best way. There is no lingering blue light from screens, no distant sirens, no ticking clock marking seconds. Time at night feels different. It expands. Hours pass not in measured increments, but in long stretches of uninterrupted rest. In this world, night belongs fully to sleep. Sometimes, in the quiet space before drifting fully under, you might hear small sounds, wind brushing against thatch, the faint movement of an animal shifting in its pen, perhaps the distant call of an owl. These sounds are not disturbances. They are part of the fabric of night. There is safety in familiarity. Your mind does not race with tomorrow's distant obligations. Tomorrow is simply another sunrise, another cycle of tending, planting, mending, or harvesting. Life is predictable in its structure, and that predictability offers calm. The medieval peasant's world is small by modern measure, only a few miles wide. Yet within that space lies an entire universe of experience. The turning of seasons, the growth of children, the rise and fall of crops, the ringing of church bells, the gathering of families near firelight. There is hardship here, yes, cold winters, uncertain harvests, illness without remedy, but there is also continuity. Days repeat gently, patterns remain steady. In your sleep, you dream perhaps of open fields under sunlight, of straight rows stretching outward, of rain arriving at just the right moment. Or perhaps you do not dream at all. Sleep in a laboring life can be deep and immediate. Beyond the village, the wider medieval world continues unseen. Distant cities, traveling merchants, castles and courts, but those are faint echoes in your existence. Your world is soil beneath your hands, firelight on wooden walls, shared meals, shared belief. As night deepens, mist begins forming lightly over open land once more. It settles into low places between fields, drifting like soft breath across earth. The village remains quiet beneath it. In this stillness there is something modern life rarely allows. Complete darkness, complete pause, no notifications, no constant updates, only rest. And if you imagine yourself there, fully present in that small timber-framed house, you might notice how slow everything feels, how deliberate, how grounded. The medieval peasant does not chase time. Time arrives on its own, with sunrise, with sunset, with frost and thaw. The next morning will begin just as gently as this one ended. A rooster's call, a faint gray light in the sky, the stirring of embers back into flame, and once again, the rhythm will continue. Planting, tending, sharing, believing. Life measured not in urgency, but in endurance. As you rest here now, wrapped in the imagined quiet of that distant century, you may feel how different the pace is from your own. Slower, simpler, not easier, but steadier. The medieval peasant did not live in constant excitement. They lived in repetition, and within repetition there is something soothing. The same fields each day, the same path to the well, the same glow of evening fire. Tonight, as you let your thoughts settle, imagine the embers fading slowly into ash. Imagine stars drifting overhead, unseen by sleeping eyes. The village breathes in and out, and so do you. Let the rhythm of that world carry you gently. The turning of seasons, the hush of fields at dusk, the soft crackle of wood and flame. There is nothing more to do now. No tools to lift, no rows to straighten. Only rest, and somewhere in the quiet darkness of a medieval village, beneath a sky untouched by modern light, the day ends exactly as it began. Simply, steadily, softly.